Okay. Says I'm live. I'm StreamYarding. I watched my YouTube tutorials. I figured out the chat. I think I'm going to start by, hello, anybody out there? Okay, I think it's a new week. It's a new day. And I'm on. All right, cool. So, oh man, today we're talking about how to embrace our imperfections. I'm going to get rid of these glasses so we don't have that glare. That's my topic of the day, embracing imperfection. Because do we have anybody out there who struggles with analysis paralysis? I do a lot better now than I used to, but as you all know, I've had some projects, some big things coming up. So excited. This coming Monday. Oh, only 4 days away from today. Wow. Okay. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but we're going to talk about how to detach from outcomes, how to be okay with whatever is going down. Really hard to do, especially in this time on this planet, in this day and age. There's so much. I do not watch the news anymore. It's too much. It overstimulates and makes me anxious. Before we dive in today, though, friend, that's what we're going to be covering today. Talking about imperfection. We are going to talk about the biggest challenges and mistakes, things that really the challenges that I'm running into over and over with people's voices. And it has more to do, it's mental and physical. It's not just, people think that the voice is something that's happening here with your lips and your jaw, and don't take into consideration the voice. All of this business here, friends, is connected way lower in the body, like all the way down to the planet, your feet on the planet. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about my event coming up on Monday. If you are a woman and you have a voice, if you can speak, my tagline used to be, if you can talk, you can sing. I still believe all of those things, but this is particularly an event specific for women. And then we are going to wrap things up with a couple of more mantra affirmations, which, speaking of, again, and actually, I have a free gift. It's out right now. I started delivering that a couple of weeks ago. And this is not just for women. It's called 26 Ways to Access Your Voice Instantly. It works for anybody. It's a very quick, just the meditation affirmation piece, A to Z, is about, I want to say it's about 6 minutes long, but it's an excellent piece just for starting your day. If you don't have anything else, if you don't use any of the apps that are available, I do a lot with Deepak Chopra. There's the Insight Timer. There's a lot of things out there. But if you have nothing and you don't know where to begin, 26 Ways to Access Your Voice Instantly is a breathing, relaxation, affirmations, A to Z. I actually did it on one of these lives a couple months back, where we literally are inhaling into your body, into your solar plexus, the words I am. And then you're releasing and exhaling. On the exhale, we went all the way through the alphabet from A to Z. And I put, along with that gift, are a PDF file that lists all of the affirmations that I used that day, but you can plug in your own. I think we exhaled out that day. I am was the inhale into the solar plexus. And then we exhaled, awesome. The next one, we inhaled, I am. And then we released and exhaled, beautiful, brave, bodacious, whatever you want to fill in the blank there. I gave you some things to start with, but you don't have to stick with what I gave you. So let's go back for a minute. The biggest challenges that I see, specific in the body or mistakes, as I mentioned, is that people think the voice is something that is just going on here, when in fact, the anything that we're doing, before you even open your mouth to speak, to share, if you're a singer, before you jump into your material, is really being mindful about where are you drawing that air and energy from. And it begins, the mechanics of it in your body begin with the solar plexus. What I see just about everybody who comes into my office or the studio is people want to take their breath, their inhale up into the shoulders, creating all this additional tension and stress in the neck, in the back, in between your scapula and your shoulders. So now, not only have you created more tension, now you're going to be using your voice, presenting, leading your meeting, singing your song, performing your poetry from a place of tension. And that it's a snowball of a train wreck. It is really, really important that all of this stays relaxed and that you are mindful of drawing that air and energy all the way down into the body. I've mentioned on previous broadcasts that I love, and there are a million different exercises for breathing, and I use a lot of different things depending on who's coming in to see me and what their purpose is for being there. But I particularly like, and you can look this up on YouTube, I learned this from Deepak himself, it's called Dirga breathing, Dirga, Dirga breathing. And it's a 3-part breath where you're, and it's, I've heard other variations of it, but it really is drawing that breath all the way down first into your solar plexus muscle, where you're drawing that breath, you're pulling that air down, moving that belly, it's kind of like an accordion forward. The next thing you're filling up are your rib cage. And the very last place you're going is to the lung and heart area. The exhale is the exact opposite of that. You are dropping down, you're collapsing lung, contracting ribs, contracting solar plexus. So if we breathe again, breathing in forward, expanding and out, and then we do the opposite of that, contract, collapse, contract on the exhale. Anyway, I'm going to be covering a lot on that. Some other things that I see a lot of challenges, besides the breathing thing, that is probably the number one issue that I see with most clients. But the other one connected to, but also a case in itself, is people speaking or putting out energy from your throat. So I can't even demonstrate these things anymore because it is so programmed in my body. I'm so trained after 20 years of doing this work. But it will tend to, if I were speaking from my throat right now, I'm trying to demonstrate the difference between this and my throat. I'm trying not to be connected. In fact, I'm contracting my solar plexus right now while I speak from my throat. Versus, I see an eyeball. I see an eyeball. If you can let me know who's here in the chat, it'd be awesome. Can you hear the difference from here to here? Do you hear what happened here versus here? Different parts of my body. And what tends to happen, and you'll know if this is happening, some indicators. If you are speaking, one, if you're disconnected from your solar plexus, from your support. Two, if you are speaking, singing, producing sound from your throat, you will know because your throat will start to get sore. Taking a sip here. If you struggle with hoarseness, if you lose your voice frequently, these are all indicators that you are probably not connected to the solar plexus. And these are all things I'm going to be covering in my workshop next week for all of you ladies. So one of the things that we'll do and how I help people with their voice in these areas is the physiology of the body. We go through, and we're going to be doing this next week. I think that I've mentioned that the first thing we're going to do on day 1, from anxious to awesome, it's women's vocal empowerment. on Monday, starts on Monday, every day next week, starting at 11 Pacific. But what we'll do is first deal with your head. We're going to be talking about, what's going on in our head, coming back to that analysis paralysis, overthinking, worried about what other people think, worried about looking dumb or embarrassing ourselves. There's a lot going on in our headspace around our voice. Did you know that I believe public speaking, I think the only thing that might have passed that up as being the number one fear for most people, I think now it's changed to getting COVID is like the new fear, but, uh, or dying. So it is right up there. This continues to be a huge challenge, a huge fear for people. And so much of this, it's really, if you can deal with your headspace and what's going on up here, which we're going to be doing on Monday, anybody who shows up at the event I'm doing. The second day, we're going to be dealing with all of the physical components. The companion guide, the workbook is beautiful. That in itself is going to be an awesome tool. If you are already registered for the event, if you're going to go register for the event after seeing this video, please go, and you always have the option to fill it out online as a PDF. I prefer, and I think that it's more effective if you print it out. You don't need the first cover page, all that color and stuff. Just print out those white pages and have those on hand nearby, because we're going to be covering, I'm breaking it all down. Essentially, my life's work, the mechanics. You've got one voice, 3 vocal vicinities. A 4-point technique that I've been using effectively gets immediate results, immediate results. I want to be talking about the elements in your voice, the 5 elements, earth, air, fire, water, metal, how to use those effectively in conversations and compassionate communication. I recently there's so much going on in the planet. There's so many things to cause us to be anxious or uptight or disconnected from our center. And I found myself getting worked up and disconnecting and hyperventilating and being upset and attached to certain outcomes. And when I was able to grab that breath, slow down, center, remind myself, what's really going on, what might be my imagination, detaching from outcomes and just being in acceptance, total different space. And almost immediate. There's so much to be said for acceptance. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. 7 energy centers. I'm going to be working. We're going to do some exercises from your 1 in your root all the way up to your crown is 7. We're going to be moving energy around. We're going to be unblocking any energy that's been blocked. It's just going to be a great time. So that is what we're going to be working on. And at the end of that event, 3rd day, by the way, live coaching. And I'm so excited. On the 3rd day, anybody who volunteers, and I already have 2 ladies have already committed to allow me, that are willing to let me coach them online in the group, which is about up to 20 people right now, I believe. But I have 3 more slots. If you are up for and would like coaching live, I'm going to be doing that online. And as a thank you to my participants, my brave and willing participants, I have beautiful gifts. Thank you so much. Ann Pager from Santa Barbara Gift Baskets has put together some goodies that I'm going to be sending out to anybody who participates and lets me coach you live as a thank you. So, embracing imperfection. Here are some thoughts, some things to chew on. And I would type and write, but I don't want to mess up what I've got going on already. Some things to think about are that we are already perfectly imperfect. And in one of the meditations I was doing recently, if we strive, and I can't remember who quoted this, but if we strive to be perfect, we are never going to get there. It's just never going to happen. So again, coming back to accepting exactly where we're at and being good with that process is just such an easier way to live on the planet. I mentioned in the notes, the show notes, that we are both being and becoming at the same time. You know, this whole thing is a journey. There is, at least my perspective, I consider myself a lifelong learner. If you consider yourself the same, then you're in great company. I think a lot of the ladies at the event on Monday fall under that category. Always, you know, pretty good about self-care, routines, personal improvement, education, growing, learning, and it's always more fun when we do it together. So if you are enrolled or you haven't enrolled yet, from Anxious to Awesome, go register, bring friends, the more the merrier. So coming back to acceptance, you know, we're going to breathe this in a minute, but you know, it's about accepting who we are, where we are, exactly where we're at, and what is our next step, if we even need to have a next step. Because if we are truly in acceptance with where we are, you know, our personal life, our professional life, our voice, the sound, the tonal quality, how we use our voice, if we're truly in acceptance, there really might not be a next step. So something to think about there. And I already mentioned that perfection in the show notes is a perception. So I want to do a quick breath work with you before we sign off, because we are keeping these right in the time limit. Left hand on your heart, right hand on that solar plexus muscle that sits below your rib cage above your belly button. And what we're going to inhale is that I am being, and we're going to exhale and becoming. So nice big breath all the way in, breath. And then to yourself, or quietly, wherever you're at, I am being. And then we're going to exhale the words and becoming. Let's do the other one. Breathing in, perception is. Breath in, perfection. Breathing in, perfection is. And then we're going to exhale a perception. So you have two new affirmations where you're going to breathe in, inhaling all the way down past the lungs into the solar plexus. Perfection is. And then exhaling a perception. Second one, breathing in, I am being. Exhaling and becoming. And I talked in the last week's, I'm not sure if that actually ever made it up because I was having technical difficulties, but you know, so much of our perception, sometimes it's just that, it's our perception, which is not necessarily real. So whether real or perceived, I think there's a lot to be said when we incorporate that breath. We get centered, we're able to detach from what's going on, taking a step back, kind of like, you know, stepping out of the room and taking a look from the outside really helps to put things back into perspective. So real quick, one more plug, because it's the last time you're going to hear me speak of it again, because next week we are in. I keep getting questions, and I've gotten some feedback. A lot of ladies, you know, I really want to attend your live event next week, and three issues keep coming up. Well, actually, really only two, but the first one is the time. When I set the event, I was taking into consideration friends and family on the other coast. So I know there's a lot of my West Coast gals, a lot of my local gals have other commitments. If you are not able to make the live from 11 to 12, not a worry. Everything's being recorded. It will be available on replay. What would be great is that you go back and take a look and take your notes and all of that in that replay before we get going again the next day. But it's all going to be available so you don't miss a thing. The other question that came up was what if I'm not really a singer? Well, I've had two parts. I've had the singers asking me, does this really apply to them? And I've had the non-singers tell me, well, I'm not really a singer. So this is not just for singers or non-singers. This is for any woman who is struggling with your voice. If you are having challenges, whether they are physical, literal physical challenges in your body, or they're more mental, you're all ready to share at that networking meeting, and your turn is coming around and you can feel it. Your shoulders are starting to rise, your palms are starting to sweat. It's like, oh, it's almost my turn. And then you stand up and you completely forget your 30-second spiel. Uh, that's one scenario. If you are an artist or a singer, or you just want to learn how to sing as a hobby, and it's just absolutely terrifying for you to even consider getting up, for example, at karaoke, this is for you. We're going to be dealing with all of that headspace, those nerves, again, whether real or perceived, what is going on in the room that causes us to disconnect. And we're going to be talking a lot about the F word, I call it in your companion guide. Mm-hmm. Fear. My God, I have a whole page just on fear we're going to be working through. So again, if you are already registered, thank you so much. I am so excited to work with you. If you are not registered yet, ladies, registration link is all over the place right now. Go get yourself registered. Get that downloadable, that printable document. I call it a playbook or your companion guide. It's about 9 pages if you print it out. Get that printed, have that nearby. And then the last thing I want to mention, y'all know money cannot be an issue with this workshop because it's free. And it is essentially, I'm giving you the best of my best. It's like the cream off the top. You're getting the cream, my life's work for free all next week. So I added up, I actually put a dollar value when I looked at all of the content, the materials, my time, everything that has gone into making this available. It's over $2,000. This is an over $2,000 of free stuff, gifts, my work. It has come out of necessity because I have not been able, I can't keep up with the demand of people wanting to work with me. So this is my next best answer, is make it available online so you all have access to it. So again, 26 ways to access your voice instantly is for all of you, anybody who's watching. You do not have to be part of the Anxious to Awesome workshop next week. That is a separate event that is just for ladies only. So if you can get over there, register, get your PDF downloaded, and let's have a good time. And in the meantime, too, on any of the social platforms, here in the replay, let me know your questions. If there are specific things I'm probably already going to cover it next week. So I'm very excited. I'm thorough and have worked really hard to pull it all together for you in an organized, orderly fashion. But let me know if there's something specific. I've already had some women reaching out asking, are you going to be doing any coaching? And absolutely. And on that note, if you are willing and you want to get some feedback in a safe space, which is number one thing that I'm doing, is creating a safe space for all you ladies who are registered for this event. I do have room for 3 more people to be coached. There were 5 slots, 2 of them are gone, and I've got 3 more available. So let me know what you want to cover. Let me know your questions. And in the meantime, everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and keep breathing. Until next time.